Okay, everybody. Good morning. My name is Jennifer Burns. I'm the director of the Business Insight Center at the Central Library. Thank you so much for joining us on this lovely day. I hope everybody has some tea or coffee and you're comfy and your jammies. Jan Pizantian from the Small Business Development Center is going to say a few words and introduce our speaker. As always, please keep yourself muted and put any questions that you have into the chat. Okay, and thank you all for being here. Jan?
Morning, everyone. Bagels for everyone as soon as we're done. Appreciate everybody showing up today, and I apologize for that background going on here, but we're all working from home still, and it looks like we're going to be doing that until January 1st, but we are still working mightily with all of our clients and customers, and all of our advisors have been extremely busy. We are the Small Business Development Center. We work exclusively with small business people, whether you're just thinking of starting a business or you've actually gotten underway but need some help, or maybe you've been around for a bit and are looking to expand or make some adjustments. We are available to meet with you one-on-one. Obviously, right now that is done virtually. We are getting very good at doing Zoom sessions, and we can talk to you via Skype, or we use Microsoft Teams. So we are available for the one-on-one. We'll work with you for as long as we're all doing something constructive. So if after today's session you decide you want an appointment with our presenter, Richard Petitte, and he's done helping with the business plan, we're done. You're welcome to come back at any time. I've got a client that I've been working with for over 30 years already, and she's just a gem of a client, and she's in her 80s now, and she's on her third business. So the point is, we don't leave you swinging in the wind. You're welcome to come back at any time. And the price is right for what we do. We do not charge. This is your tax dollars at work. I like to call it prepaid because you've all paid for our services already. So you might as well come and see us. We have a full team of advisors. All of us come from the private sector originally, either as small business owners or as part of management in the small business environment. So we've been there, we've done it. We're not telling you anything out of a textbook or anything that is just coming from the twilight zone. So rest assured you're getting good counsel from the advisor that you're meeting with. And again, the price is right. We just finished up our fiscal year. We operate on the federal fiscal year, ended on September 30th. And we accounted for over $14 million in economic impact. That is investment, that is loans. And speaking of loans, we are heavily involved and still heavily involved with the COVID relief activities and the various loans that exist. Unfortunately, the PPP program has been discontinued for the time being. We're hopeful that's going to get reinstated. But the SBA also operates the EIDL program, which is still available. New York State operates the New York Forward Loan Program, which is available to everyone, including recipients of PPP loans up to $50,000. So we can help you navigate all that. And I just gave you a bunch of alphabet soup, and some of you are probably scratching your head saying, what is this guy talking about? Please give us a call. Our contact information is, I've posted that in the chat. You'll also have information on the last slide in Dick's presentation on how to reach us. You can set up an appointment with us online through our website at nyssbdc.org. You can call our office. We do respond to the phone messages that we receive. So we look forward to meeting with all of you, and hopefully we can help you all progress forward through this COVID crisis. And that's what this session is all about, business planning to get you through this and to continue to help you to grow and keep your business functioning at peak efficiency. I also want to mention a program that we have that, again, is at no charge to you. It's free. It's called EntreSkills, and it's an online training program for putting together your business plan and also help you decide what kind of business activities you should be engaged in. It's at your pace. You can log in at any time. So if you're not watching late night TV and buying Ginsu knives at 3 in the morning, you can log in and work on your EntreSkills activities. And each of you are assigned to an advisor so that if you have questions, you can bounce it off your advisor as well. So we have lots of tools available. And again, the price is right. So having said that, let me introduce Richard Petitte. He's one of our top business advisors, and he's actually an Emmy Award winner. So you can ask him about that when it comes to the Q&A session. He's been teaching at the SUNY Brockport and also at Monroe Community College, business classes as well. So he's well-rounded, has some good experience in the private sector as well. So let me present to you Dick Petitte. Dick, go ahead.
Thanks, Jan. You did it all, so I can go home now. It's a pleasure to be able to do this with as many people as are signed up, and I keep seeing more and more coming in, and that's great. As Jan mentioned, I've been with SBDC for a while. This is actually starting my 14th year, but I've been working with businesses for a lot of years. I won't say how many because we don't want to give away any age. But today we're basically going to be talking about a key skill and something that's essential, and that's business planning. If you plan, you'll know where you're going. If you don't plan, you won't know where you're going. And as I say, it's all about getting from here to there. And here's a map. So if you wanted to go from Rochester to Buffalo, there's many ways to go. There's multiple routes. What's the best one for you and your goal of your business? So it's all about getting from here to there, knowing where you're starting from, knowing what you want to accomplish, and where you want to end up. And where you want to end up may change. We know that from COVID. So it's very important that you consider all of the routes. One of the things that I use when I talk about business planning is the feasibility process. This is basically how you would get started. You have an idea. I have an idea for a business. What is that business? Can you define it? It's one of the key things that we talk about. Can you say, what is my business? In 2 sentences. We call it elevator speech. Because if you were getting on an elevator, let's say on the first floor, and someone came into the elevator and said, well, what's your business? Can you explain it by the time you get to the second floor and they get off? So 2 sentences, what is your business? And then the next thing down there is your personal business objectives. Why are you doing this? What do you want to achieve? Again, getting from here to there. Is there a reason? Have you had experience? After that, we look at the market analysis. What industry are you in? What's your competition? Sometimes I'll have people come to me and say, oh, I don't know. Or I don't think I have any competitors. You should know who your competition is and who your target market is. Who are you selling to? One of the things that we say is, who wants what you're selling? Is there anybody out there that wants it? Do they even know what it is? If you get into some of these businesses that are obscure, people don't even know what you're selling. So it has to be very clear. The next one is requirements, experience or knowledge. Have you ever done this before? Do you have any experience with it? A great story that goes with that is a while back, I had somebody come to me and said, I want to open a pizza business. Okay. Have you ever done any pizza restaurant experience? No, I just like pizza. Okay. Do you know anybody that's a chef, or are you a chef? No, I just like pizza. Okay, well, that's something that is important to bring out. Also, time. What amount of time do you need to develop the business, to actually get the business started? And once you get it started, what's after that? What kinds of legal requirements are there? Are you going to be a sole proprietorship? Are you going to be an LLC or a corporation? And what do you need in order to do that? And the last one under requirements is financing. Oh, you mean I have to think about financing? It's always an important idea. After all of that, there's a decision point. Is this a viable business? Does it make sense? And do you know what you need to know at this point to actually go forward? If the answer is yes, develop the business plan. If the answer is no, go back. So what's the purpose of the business plan? It's a document fundraising. When you go and meet with the lender, and the lender could be a bank, it could be your uncle, they're all going to want to see some kind of document that's a business plan that explains to them what the business is, where you expect that it's going to be going, what kind of funds you're going to need, and how you're going to accomplish your goal. Years ago, and I'm talking a few years ago, Jan will remember a few years ago, you could actually jot things down on a napkin and take it to the bank and they'd go, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. We can help you with that. Today, they're going to say you need a business plan. And more often than not, we'll get a phone call that says, I'm sending so-and-so to you. They want to start a business, but they need a business plan. Can you help them? Of course, the answer is yes, we can. That's what we do. So develop your plan for the business. Develop your plan of operations. How are you going to do it? It's that simple. How are you going to do it? What's the first thing you need to know? It's also important to have a business plan. As you have employees, if you're an LLC, you're going to have a board, and it's important that you have a business plan so that they can see what your goal is, what your objectives are. Here's your first quiz. What is a business plan? Number one is it's a document for raising funds. Two is a document or a description of the plans for operating a business. Three, a roadmap to success for your employees and the board of directors. And four, all of the above. If you answered four, that's exactly what it is. It's all of those. So a business plan describes the business. What business are we in? The first section of a business plan is the executive summary. It's the last thing that you write in the business plan. And it basically describes all of the elements of the business plan in a brief 1 to 2 page document. So what business are you in? Where is the opportunity? Where actually are the markets? Who are you going to be selling to? And if there's industry forces that are involved, what are the competition out there and the threats that they pose? And what's your competitive edge? What makes you different than the rest of those? Major sections of the business plan. At the end of the presentation, you're actually going to see that we recommend that we can actually put you into what Jan mentioned before, Entre Skills. Excellent, excellent program that we have that's online, that you do in your own time. And it gets you from knowing aspects of what the business is to actually writing the business plan. Excellent, excellent. And as Jan mentioned, it's free of charge. So we'll talk about that as we get closer. But when you do put the business plan together, here are the sections that are going to be in it. The executive summary. Again, that's the last thing that's written. It actually covers all of the other aspects of the business plan. Product or service actually being available to the markets and the customers. Competitor industry analysis. You know, one of the things that has gone by the wayside is .coms. There was a big push for .coms years ago, and the lenders were definitely in favor of providing funds for that. As the .coms actually started to die, .coms are not that exciting anymore to a lender. Not that they can't be done, but they would like to talk about it. Financial information, very, very important. Know basically what you predict is going to be your revenue. And what I call it is what comes in. Your expenditures, I call what goes out. And your net profit, what's left over. Simplified, that's exactly what it is. What comes in, what goes out, and what's left over. And then there's a section for appendices. All of this is covered in EntreSkills. So why do you need a business plan? It encourages you to be specific. I just like pizza.
Dick,
Yeah.
just a second, the question came up. Somebody wants to know what you mean by .com.
.coms were businesses that dealt with the internet. Did that answer your question? Hopefully. So again, why do you need a business plan? It's to encourage you to be specific. I just like pizza. Well, okay, so do I. And we all like bagels, I guess it sounds like. But to encourage you to be specific, your informal or mental plans tend to be vague. I just like pizza. And to evaluate the feasibility of your ideas before you're aligned, before you invest time and money in them. So I know what a question would be. Did the person that wants to start a pizza business actually do so? No. After he looked at all of the possibilities and all of the things that he needed to know, he realized that he wasn't the person to do it. So before you invest time and money, the business plan is important to go through. And again, to identify weaknesses or potential problems that you can eliminate before you start your business. Very, very important. Getting from here to there involves knowing what might happen before you start. Also, to provide a planning, operating, and policy guide, a blueprint, for those of you that are architects, a blueprint to follow in building your business. Is it important? Yes, it's important. If I look at your business plan or what you present and I don't understand it, I'll ask you questions. And it's not to say, well, you know how to do it. It's to say, in order to go to a lender, we want to make sure you're fully prepared. We already mentioned about educating, motivating your key employees. That's why you have to have explicit goals and strategies. You have to be clear. You have to be clear. And to improve decision making, we said we were going to raise this much amount of money, revenue. We're going to do that in the first year. And in the second year, we're going to actually double that. Well, maybe that's true, but if you look at it, you might decide, well, maybe it isn't doubling it because the market's not there. And today, especially today, the market may not be as strong as it used to be. And my caution there is don't stop because of that. We need your small business. We definitely need small businesses. And small businesses are the backbone right now of the economy. And what it says right here is important. According to the U.S. Small Business Administration, more than 50% of all new businesses fail within the first 2 years of operation. However, that number is much smaller if there's careful business planning and you have a business advisor. And the main thing that we've been saying is it helps to persuade lenders and investors. And remember, investors could be your uncle. It could be a venture capitalist. It could be an angel investor. That you have a comprehensive, well-conceived plan for success. Yes, you're a great person, but are you a great person in business? So that first lasting impression is critical. A business plan is often the first contact with the funding source. And as I mentioned before, funding sources can be all of these listed: venture capitalists, angel investors, bankers, your uncle. And they all want to see your business plan. They all want to know that you have a plan. And as I said, they all want to see it. The due diligence that you have to perform, and that's why Entre Skills is so important, because it helps to get you there without a lot of strife, trying to figure out, well, what do I do? Well, Entre Skills actually takes you through that process. And the people that have used it, I have clients that are using it, say it's actually very helpful. And the business people, the lenders, look at it and go, wow, this is exactly what we need. So a more powerful business plan means that it'll be a more positive meeting with your lender. Get to know your lender. Who do you bank with? Yeah, I think you know your uncle, but who do you bank with? Invite the lender to your business once you get it going. Be prepared to meet with them. Stop in, bring them bagels. You can bring some to your advisor as well. Keep the lender informed about your business. How's it going? Be responsible with your credit. And we're going to talk about the areas of credit. But I have a business that's been going on now for 8 years. And it's actually a food manufacturing business that I actually saw when I first met with them. And then I met the banker. And the banker actually is down the street from where the business is located. And because they've established such a relationship with that lender, when it came time to get more for the business, the lender was absolutely ready. So what does the lender actually look at? They're going to look at your credit history for the most part. There are a couple of lenders that say, okay, well, it's been a tough time. We understand that. They look at your character. Not that you are a character, although that might be helpful, but your commitment to your business. Have you had any education, any experience? That's always helpful. Cash flow. What are you forecasting? Repayment ability. Now, people will say, well, I don't know. Okay, that's why we call it forecasting. Just like today. Today in Rochester, it's supposed to be sunny and 90 degrees. I don't think the forecast was exactly there. Maybe later today. So forecasting is just that. It has to be reasonable. Certainly your business advisor can help you with that. Any collateral. which is security for the loan. I've had it happen where people say, well, I'm not going to give up my house. Well, I can tell you, lenders today do not want your house. All they want to know in a lot of cases is your commitment to your business. Are you willing to say, yeah, I'll put my house up as collateral? Doesn't mean they're going to take it. It means they want to see your commitment. And then we already mentioned some of the conditions, the state of the economy, the timing. Do you want to start a swimwear business in January in Rochester? Probably not a great time. Your own preparation, any past history of the business if you've had one, and the type of business which we mentioned. One of the ones that I see a lot of these days is the restaurant business. Well, obviously with COVID, the restaurant business has taken a hit. Does that mean it's not a viable business? No, it doesn't. It means that there's some things that you have to look at as you approach that type of business and where it is right now and where it's going to be going. And again, when you forecast your finances, that's going to be part of the factors. So what do these venture capitalists, these lenders read first? My experience is they go to the executive summary first. They read what the business is, who the potential market is, how much money you're going to need initially. And then, if they like what they read, they're most likely going to go right to the finances. If it's a startup, they'll look them over, they'll ask some questions, but they'll probably say, it's reasonable, okay. And then they'll look at the other factors. So questions to ask yourself before you write the plan. Who's going to be reading the plan? Who is my audience? It's true pretty much that we learn from writing anything that's going to be read by folks. Who's going to be reading it? We address it to those people, or at least to the kinds of things that they need to see. And what do I want to accomplish with this business plan? Most likely you're going to say, well, I want to get a loan, or I want to go for a grant. Okay, then does the business plan say that? Is there the information in there that will relate to getting a loan or a grant? So again, the things that you want to address as the core elements of the plan is the product or the service. Product or service. Who the market is. What's the market potential? Competition. Do I have any? In the case of I Just Like Pizza, I hate to keep using him, but it's a classic. One of the questions was, where are you going to locate it? Where are you going to physically locate the pizza place? Well, the point that he made in the area that he said he was going to put it in, I said, okay. And I went out there and looked at it. I drove out there. And in the place where he was thinking of placing it, there were 6 other pizza shops. And if I went another mile down the road and turned towards the city of Rochester, there were 12 more. Probably is something to be thought about before putting it there. Who's the management team? You know, not only yourself as the owner, as the manager, but who else are you going to have managing the team? Who else is the team? Do they have any experience? And the last one is financing and your finances. Again, The equation is what comes in, what goes out, what's left over. So product or service. You want to describe that product or service in sufficient detail so the audience can understand what it is. And what's the value to the customer? I'll give you another pizza story. Seems like I have all pizza stories, but this was a group that came to me, an established business that has been in their location for a number of years, and came to me and said, can you help us? We're not making any money. Now, this is before COVID. I said, okay. I said, where are you located? And they told me. And so I went down there. Nice pizza. PD screen, whatever. Menu was quite substantial. And I looked at the pizza and said, okay, so let's just pick one item out. Now, I was meeting with the owner and his wife. His wife actually was the one that did the books. Let's take a look at pizza. How much do you charge for a large cheese pizza? $12. Okay. What does it cost you to make that pizza? You can hear the pause. We don't know. We don't know. You have to know. Not what I said to them, but I said it's important to know what it costs you. Remember, what comes in, what goes out, what's left over. So a large cheese pizza, you're charging $12. What does it cost you to actually produce that pizza? Now, remember, they're doing a volume. So I sent them away, basically, and said, can you tell me, I'll come back, can you tell me how much it costs you to make a large cheese pizza? When I went back, they said $1.38, $1.38. I'd say there's a pretty good profit margin there. So I said, well, let's take a look at the rest of the menu. And it was clear that there were 3 or 4 items that they had on the menu that were just not making any money. It was costing them more to produce it than what they were charging for it. By actually having them look at their costs, they were able to eliminate some of the key items that were causing their lack of funding, their lack of funds, and it actually made them more profitable. You got to say, gee, that was simple. Yes, it was simple. But I know when you're an owner, you don't necessarily see that. So again, look at all the different things that add into what the business is. And also describe the life cycle of your product. Is it something that's going to be something people want forever? Also, is there anything proprietary about it? In other words, nobody else owns it. It's unique. And so protected by a patent or a copyright. And we actually have programs that talk about the different types of patents and copyright and how you apply for them. I'm going to just say, are there any questions at this point before we go on further?
Hi, my name is Viviana. So this is really great presentation. I'm really enjoying your detailing and your organization. I'm just wondering, when you first get started meeting with someone, so first they do the entry program and then somebody meets with them? Is that kind of like the process?
No, we actually would meet with them, or they would sign up to meet, request for counseling. You'll see that at the end of the presentation. And then after we talk to them about the business, about what their goals are, and the kinds of things that I've been mentioning, that's when we'll enroll them into Entre Skills.
Okay, thank you.
If I can add to that, the Entre Skills is optional. So if for whatever reason you're just not comfortable with doing online stuff, you can still work with your advisor. The Entre Skills is a tool that we use to supplement the advisory. The important part of what we do is the one-on-one, and the fact that you have someone that you can call, email, and work with at your pace and your leisure. The Entre Skills supplements that. So I also want to take this moment to advise everyone that we'll be sending you an email and a follow-up in a couple of days with pertinent information on how to set up appointments and stuff. So you'll have that coming to you. So look for something from SBDC at brockport.edu, and don't filter us out. And also a reminder that we'll also be sending out a survey about today's program. We appreciate any kind of feedback that you can give us so that we can make things better if at all possible. Your commentary just now says that we're doing pretty good, but also your opportunity to let us know about any other programs or information you might be looking for that we can present on these first Wednesday series. So thanks.
Thanks, Jan. Were there any other questions before we go on? Okay. So again, you're going to talk to your business advisor, and we're going to kind of put you through a section of supporting what you're saying. That's it right in that second bullet. Support how you determined the projections, your market survey, a current buying habit that you've actually surveyed. One of the things that SBDC has is our research network. These are librarians. You'll be happy to hear that, Jennifer. These are librarians in Albany that their purpose is research. So we can send them a question that you have for your business, and they will do a full report. They'll research it and do a report and send it back. Now, I just recently used them. This was a tea business, and they were importing teas from India and China. One of the things that they needed was an answer to a question about the importing of those products. We sent it off to the research network. They researched it. They returned a report. And when I saw the clients, they said, wow, that would have cost us over $700 to get that kind of a report. All free of charge because you're an SBDC client. So in the last bullet here, defining your markets. Who's going to buy this? Who's going to buy it? I mean, yes, what you have is great, but is anybody else saying that? Who's going to buy it? Individuals is usually what you think about. But what about businesses? Selling to businesses is different than selling to consumers. What about government? There are a couple things that, a couple of entities that we have that we can put you into, if it's appropriate, selling to the government. What about overseas? Did you ever think about selling outside of the US, or as we call it, offshore? So the bottom line is, where are the customers located? Not only where you say they're located, but when we sit together and we quote unquote noodle it, maybe we come up with some customers you didn't think about. That would be great. So how are we going to reach these customers? It's something at SBDC we wrestle with ourselves. Is it direct mail? Is it ads? Is there a sales force that you're going to have? Sales force could be one person, could be yourself as the owner. My brother-in-law has a great business, and I hate to say that because I don't want to give him too much, but he has a great business, and he doesn't really have a sales force. He has a sales force, and he goes out there and he basically sells what they manufacture. They manufacture items. He does that because he has the personality, because he understands the business like no one else. Actually has to be done. He knows exactly what it's going to cost him, or pretty close. So he can do a better estimate than just a salesperson that doesn't know. Trade magazines, places where people actually read, like the Rochester Business Journal. We're in the process of putting an article in there about a new business I'm working with that actually has a product that kills COVID and does it for up to 1 month, recently approved by the EPA. Okay, now what do we do with that? Well, we got to get some publicity. We got to do some marketing. And so one of the things I recommended was, why don't we just put it in the Rochester Business Journal as a new business? And isn't it a cool business? So that's what we're in the process of doing. Is that direct advertising? No, it's not quite direct, but it does get people's attention. And describe how long it's going to take from your initial contact to completing a sale, to getting the revenue. That's important. You may want to present the methods which you're going to use to deliver your product. Distribution, if in fact you're going to be distributing. And describe how your customer will pay for the products. They say, are you going to do a cash business? Are you going to accept credit? And if you accept credit, what are going to be your terms? 10 days, 30 days, 60 days. And remember, when you do that, you're putting the return on the investment out there. So when you say you're going to be bringing in this much revenue, it may not be right away because of the terms that you have for paying for your products. I'll never forget, one of my clients did some work for a large company. I won't say which company it was, but it was a large company in Rochester. And they had a policy of paying every 120 days. Ouch. Ouch. So what had to be supplied wasn't going to be paid for about 120 days. Those are the kinds of things you got to be very careful of. And if you have to do it that way, you have to plan for it. Again, competitor industry analysis. How do your competitors or services? Are there any regulatory issues? federal, state, local, foreign. And how do you show the potential for growth within the industry? What advantages or disadvantages do you have versus the competition? Price, quality, features, maintenance, and service. Service includes not just doing a one-time only, but sticking with those customers to make sure that they're happy. If you were to draw a triangle, on one side you have price, on one side you have quality, on another side you have time. Price, quality, time. When you're out there selling, you can change two of those. You never, and I underline never, should sacrifice quality. So if somebody says, okay, the price is good, but I need it faster. If you say, well, we can do that, but we have to increase the price a little bit, 90% of the time, the customer is going to say, yeah, okay, we accept that. By the same token, we can lower the price in some cases, but it's going to take that much longer to deliver it. These are things you want to consider before you actually get in front of the customer. So again, simplified financials. What comes in? Revenue. What goes out? Your expenditures. And one of the expenditures that I see most often is not included in your financials is your own pay. If you're not going to pay yourself, sometimes a lender will look at that and go, well, we really don't like that. You should pay yourself something. So it's a consideration for expenditures. And then what's left over? Your net profit. I was called in to help someone who had a used car business. What they were doing is they were buying vehicles in Canada, bringing them to here in Rochester. They had a warehouse and they had to change out the speedometers, and they did some touch-ups here and there. Okay, so again, I went out there to see the warehouse and get a real understanding of these vehicles, what shape they're in, what the revenue might be for what they're projecting, what expenditures they have to replace the speedometers and anything else, and what was the net profit. Well, the net profit at that time when we did the business plan and the financials was 8%. And I looked at the owner and I said, 8%? Really? If you're not making more than 8%, and it's possible you might not, depends. But in this case, if you're not making more than 8%, you'd be better off to take that money and put it into a mutual fund. I don't think that went over as well as it could have, but he definitely got the message, and he did make some adjustments. He's still in business today. He still has the warehouse, and I think he's, from what I've heard from what he says, he's actually making closer to about 20%. Much better, much better. So it's important to look at not just the revenue, but what the expenditures are, the true expenditures. And then what you think is going to be your profit left over at the end. So if you're going to go for funding, you want to look at the different kinds of funding. And also the timing of the funds needed to sustain your business for a 5-year period. Now, it's still 5 years, but the business plan these days is 3 years. The reason it's shorter is because of the environment. You can't even predict 1 year these days. You know, what's going to happen next year? Who knows? Who knows? As Jan mentioned, we're not going back to the ranch until it means we have to do business differently. Does that mean we stop doing business? Absolutely not. We're here to service the people that come to us and need help. So we just have to do it differently. And you're doing it today. You're in a Zoom conference. You're not somewhere in the library, kind of in the library, but not in the library. And you're going through this that we would do face to face. So again, what do you need to sustain the business for 3 years? And if you can do 5, that would be great. But 3 years initially. How will the funds be used? Again, what are your expenditures that you're forecasting? And show how and when the actual cash accrual revenue will be, so that you can say, we're going to have this much revenue, we're expecting this expenditure to pay off the loan, so that we can tell an investor there's an appropriate return on their investment. And also, there are many ways to get that money. It doesn't go over well. But again, a couple years ago, I had someone who wanted to buy a building. And he went to a lender, a bank, had his business plan that we put together for him. But he really didn't have the credit. He really didn't have the wherewithal to do it. Not that he wasn't a reasonable, good character person, but he just didn't have the wherewithal. His credit was not, well, it wasn't as good as it could be. Okay, so I searched around and we found a private investor. Now, private investors are people that have money. It's always a good idea. People that have money that are willing to invest in what they think they can get a return on. The only danger with a private investor is the interest rate. And at that time, the interest rates were anywhere from 10 to 12%. Ouch, 10 to 12%. We found a private investor that was willing to put up the money to buy the building, and he was going to do it. We talked to him. We negotiated. Negotiation. Now, there's a skill. We negotiated it at 9.25%. Not bad. And so the end of that was he got the money, he bought the building, and in 2 years, he refinanced it and now is paying 3% interest. It's not always the way you think you want to go from where you are now. And again, it's so that you can actually accomplish where you want to go, getting from here to there. And again, we talked about the 3 to 5 year projections. And all of these forms income statements, balance sheets, cash flow statements are all part of what EntreSkills goes through. And wherever possible, if you have a similar kind of business as a competitor, I say similar because yours is better. It doesn't hurt to say, well, this is how they're doing. And I know from talking to people that I would supply my product or service to that I can do this much better. So what are the 4 C's of credit? Ooh, everybody starts to shake. The first one is, what's the status of your personal credit history? Now, in some cases, because of COVID, yeah, we've had a rocky few months here. The lender will take that into account. Beyond that, there might be some other things in your history that happened, but you've taken care of it. Your credit is actually getting better. That's an important thing to bring out. Second one is capacity. Sometimes it's the most overlooked part. What is the capacity? When you look at your business, what you're projecting, what's the capacity? And I have talked to businesses that say, oh, well, we can do 5 times what we're doing. But in reality, they don't have that capacity. It's important not to do more or speak more than you can actually do. And the third one is capital. Again, it's your commitment. The second bullet is important. A frequent cause of business failure is being undercapitalized, having too little cash to carry the business through the called startup and growth phases. I have run into this with businesses where they say, and a lot of times I'll look at their plan and go, you need to go back and look at this. I think you're going to need more capital. And in many cases, that's exactly what they do. They need more capital. Well, I can get by with this. Yeah, it's not just getting by with this. You have to get by with it and be profitable, especially for the lender. And the fourth C we mentioned before is collateral. And that can include your business assets, land, building, equipment, inventory, and your own personal assets, stocks, bonds, CDs, home equity. Again, the lender doesn't want to take those away. What they want to do is guarantee that you can repay the loan. A business that I worked with, in fact, got a very large loan approval for. Again, a few years back, notice I keep saying that, was a business that actually was in existence. It had been running for years successfully, but the owners wanted to sell it. They were getting older. They wanted to move on. Okay, so when we looked at the business, one of the things that was important was there were buildings, there was land, and there was a client base. Well, when you look at buildings and land, you're talking about assets. Assets are very important to a lender because they know they can secure the loan easier when you have those kinds of assets. Same thing is true in manufacturing. Equipment sometimes is assets that can secure the loan. In any case, the third item was the customer list. When we looked at the customer list, and we do, one of the things that I saw was boy, it's pretty high. So I said, go back and find out exactly what it is as best you can. And I'll give you the numbers in this case. They wanted $500,000 for the customer list. When the buyers went back and talked to them and actually looked at some of the books that they were willing to share, it was closer to 300,000. And so that's what they actually went in with. It was approved and they saved that amount of money. And that all that was simply, and I don't want to toot my own horn, was a business advisor that has seen things, that asks a question, or better yet, helps you to ask a question so that you can be successful. Again, purposes of supporting information, you want full financial statements. Management resumes are good. If you saw the beginning of this, you saw a photo of me. I always say it's suitable for framing or wallet size. But a photo of yourself, and as it relates to the business, any brochures that you may have put together or want to put together. Again, we talk about the competitive analysis, the industry, and how you're going to come up with the dollars you're talking about. Okay. The result of all of this, yay, is a successful business, paid off loans, investors with adequate return on their investment, happy customers, and long-term employees. There's a business that I know of. Again, I don't want to give my brother-in-law too much advice. So I don't give him advice. He does it on his own. He actually has a thing, you'll love this one. He actually has a thing where if they're on time, every day of the month, at the end of the month, he actually barbecues steaks for them for lunch. They haven't missed a day in several months. Love those steaks. And that's a long-term employee. They are committed. I hate to say it, but he's doing it right. Now, I'm not saying you have to barbecue steaks all the time, but think about the return, not just for yourself, but the return that your employees bring to you. So what do you do next? As Jan mentioned already, contact the Small Business Development Center. You're going to be getting follow-up emails from us. You're actually going to get a cert from Jennifer. You can request counseling you can have a request for counseling, and that's the address, nysbdc.org. And then once you're a client and you're working with an advisor, we can enroll you in SBDC's Entre Skills program. So thank you very much. Looks like we went over a little bit. Sorry about that. Any questions?
Thanks, Dick. That was great. Any questions for our speaker? Once again, you'll all be receiving the PowerPoint files as well as a link to the recorded program on the library's YouTube page. Please look for an email from business.insight@libraryweb.org. Dick, there's a question. At what point should we enroll in the Entre Skills program?
Once you have submitted your request for counseling and you've been assigned an advisor, we can actually enroll you into Entre Skills.
Great. Any other questions?
I do have a comment, Jennifer.
Sure.
The Rochester business section of the library, the Rochester Library, is outstanding. Has been for years. It's too bad you can't go there because I don't think they can, right, Jennifer, right now?
We are open, but we are by appointment only. So the best thing to do is to either call us or email us and set something up to make sure that we're actually there.
Yep, I recommend using it. It's outstanding, has been. I even recommend for my students to go there.
Yeah, thank you. Last call for questions. We also have an online request for appointment form on our website at rockcitylibrary.org, if that works for you as well. Okay. Unless there's any other questions, thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you again. Please be aware next month's program is going to be starting at 11 a.m. instead of 10 a.m. And I believe we are discussing SBIR, STTR grants, but do not quote me on that. So please be aware again of the change in time for next month. All right. Thank you so much, Dick. Thank you everyone for attending. And
thank you.
Hope to see you again. Thanks so much.